Friends, something very interesting happened this week in the race for the White House. And before I get into it, I want to talk to you about a certain hole that I have in my heart that developed when we annihilated and embarrassed Liz Cheney and chased her out of Wyoming 2 years ago. I had a lot of personal pride tied up in the fight that we had with the Cheneys, with Darth Daddy Dick Cheney, with the butcher of Bethesda, Liz Cheney. We organized with volunteers across the state of Wyoming, and in every single county, we helped to provide censures from the Republican Party and strip all institutional support and funds from her reelection campaign, and to admonish and condemn the warmongering carpetbagger for her support of endless and undeclared wars where she was eager to send other people's children to die while she and her daddy got rich. Our fight with Liz Cheney started in 2019 when we took 100 veterans and state lawmakers from around the country to Washington, D.C. to hold an event where we talked about the endless undeclared wars and encouraged Congress to reclaim their authority and to be the only political body in our country who could commit America to war, which, by the way, is part of the Constitution. After our event, we sent all 100 of our participants to meet with their own members of Congress, and one of our founding members, who was from Wyoming and a veteran of the global war on terror, met with Liz Cheney. Shortly into the conversation, the veteran constituent from Wyoming asked Liz what conditions on the ground must be met in Afghanistan in order for her to support ending the war and bringing our troops home. Liz shuffled some papers on her desk, and then she put them down and looked our veteran member right dead in the eyes and said, "As long as I'm here in Washington, D.C., we will never come home from Afghanistan." So we left that meeting, and we knew that public enemy number one in the restoration of liberty and the survival of the constitutional republic was Liz Cheney and people like her. We decided immediately that our number one election priority was to remove Liz Cheney from office. At that time, after we started sharing this message, the scales began to fall off the eyes of the voters in Wyoming, and they began to realize that Liz Cheney does not represent Wyoming voters, Wyoming citizens, Wyoming values, and that she was a better representative of the military industrial contractors and the war profiteers who were her neighbors living in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. It was a 3-year heavy lift for a burgeoning veterans organization, but we did it, and we beat Liz Cheney with a wonderful alternative, Congresswoman Harriet Hagman. Defeating Liz and embarrassing her in front of the entire nation left a hole in my heart, and I was unsure of where to put my energy after that. But don't worry, we solved that uncertainty quite quickly, and I realized that the fight was no longer in Washington, D.C., and that we needed to return to the states. And that's how we began our efforts with the Defend the Guard legislation. But like all reptiles, Liz exposed her reptilian humanoid head and her empty shifting eyes and demonstrated once again that she has nothing in common with the citizens of the state which she pretended to represent. Watch and listen to the reaction from former Marine and vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance, Semper Fi J.D., and Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA as they discuss Liz's endorsement of another warmongering elitist. America, JD, Charlie Kirk, they're all reacting to Liz as if this is something new and novel, and they're just now learning something about Liz that they didn't know before. I knew when I saw this that I had to send out one more quick message and take one more shot at Liz. So please, watch this clip and know that what America is now seeing without the blinders is the fruit of our labor.
Endorsement. Liz Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris.
Oh, no.
And it's so interesting, isn't it, that every failed warmonger in the established D.C., let's just say machine, is behind Kamala Harris. That the peacemakers are behind Trump and Vance. Blessed are the peacemakers, is what the scriptures say. Your thoughts, JD?
Well, maybe the best thing, not the very best thing, but a very good thing that I could say about the next presidency of Donald J. Trump is that he's going to make sure that people like Liz Cheney are laughed out of the Oval Office instead of rewarded, because this is a person This is a person whose entire career has been about sending other people's children off to fight and die for her military conflicts and her ridiculous ideas that somehow we were going to turn Afghanistan, a country that doesn't even have running water in a lot of places, into a thriving liberal democracy. And for that, Liz Cheney was willing to kill thousands of your children. Liz Cheney, you know what? I think it's the best thing in the world that she's supporting Kamala Harris. You are right. Blessed are the peacemakers. Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney make very, very interesting partners. They get rich when America's sons and daughters go off to die. They get rich when America loses wars instead of winning wars. And they get rich when America gets weaker in the world. We want American strength, American security, and most importantly, peace. Let's bring peace back to the world. And Donald Trump is the candidate to do it.